Dude, no, I'm like you've watched the first 3 minutes. I don't know. Kev, I don't know if you just want to jump right the fuck in, but the Bear deserves every
No, I'm
Emmy
sure.
nomination it got and more. It's we talked about this in group chat. It is completely in the wrong category
Yes, it is
Yes.
not a comedy.
whatsoever.
Ridiculous.
It is not a comedy at all. There are funny ass moments throughout that movie or throughout that show, but it is not a comedy.
No.
I don't understand why it's in comedy at all. That being said, first show I've seen in a long damn time where season 2 is as good as, if not better than season 1.
Agree. Yeah.
It is
Yeah, oh
just
yeah. You can take everything about season 1, which is already great.
Yeah.
If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's like I think it's like a 94 versus a 97 for seasons 1 and 2. So like they're both great. But you have what amounts to, in my opinion, 2 perfect episodes in season 2.
Oh
And they're
yeah.
back to back, and it's
Oh, which two?
6 and 7. So you have the family, right? The whole family Christmas thing, which is unreal. Jamie Lee Curtis is fucking amazing in that. Everybody and all the cameos in that. Like when that episode starts and people just start walking in the door, you're like Bob Odenkirk,
Sarah Paulson,
Mulaney,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah,
Oh,
just like,
real
shit,
quick on a side note, because I'll forget. I said I had a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight, so I'm going to interject little things here and there. Watch Baby J, John Mulaney's new shit on Netflix.
So good.
Off the fucking chain.
So good.
It is, if you like John Mulaney, like Salt and Pepper Diner is one of the funniest, I think, comedy clips out there. His stuff is great. This is a raw, emotional, open look at his intervention and going to rehab and sobriety so far, and he hasn't been sober that long when he's doing the show. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really impressive how he takes something and tells the story of something that is so important, and he gets the importance of it across, but it's still hilarious.
It's almost
so
more of
funny.
like a one-man show than it is an hour stand. Like, it's still very much stand-up, but it's more like performance art piece. Like, he could have had a fucking clicker and had slides going off in the background, and it would have been, and you would have called it performance art. It's just so good. It is actually also relatively safe for kids to watch. There's some language, there's a few references to things here or there, but it is a really sweet, I don't want to say anti-drug message, but it's when you hear about what his life was like and where it had gone, and you wouldn't have thought that for John Mulaney, it's really, really good.
Yeah, especially when he talks about his drug dealer and what he was doing to get drugs. And
that was hilarious to me.
It's such a weird thing to say is hilarious, but it really is. It's brilliant. It's one of the best stand-up specials I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah. So yeah, episode 6, that Christmas episode, is just from beginning to end. It is a slow simmer and boil. And Jamie Lee Curtis, like, you watch it and you're like, okay.
Well, I would say that what goes on with her character is slow, but there's nothing slow about that episode. That episode is in your face the entire time.
No, I told you guys I didn't like that episode. It was too much for me. It was just too anxiety.
As soon as I finished
why people like it and can appreciate that, but for me, I have seen other people say it was the same thing for them. It was just like too.
Oh, it
all just felt like it was just anxiety.
It's intense. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that entire episode, just there's a lot that punctuates through it, but it just slowly goes to me, like, building and building and building, even being in your face, to when John Barenthal finally throws the fucking knife.
Yeah.
And it just pops off so hard.
The one thing I would say, don't spoil, is I just don't think you should say anything about the very ending.
No,
that would like spoil something.
Yeah,
So-
I
so
would
you
I would talk about the
things. I don't
tension.
think it'll
Yeah,
spoil it.
talk about the
Yeah, I
tension
will-
of the episode, but you don't have to give anything away in that one.
Right.
Yeah, I will just say this. This is all I'll say about the finale, because that actually, yeah, I would say keep that spoiler free. But that
Yes.
finale, that was my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah,
From the
so
jump
good.
off, because the episode before it ends, and you're like, well, that could be it.
Yeah,
Like, I'd
for
be
sure.
so happy if that was done. And then they say, nope, we're gonna roll through and give it to you. And then when it rolls out and everything happens, and especially if you have ever worked in the restaurant industry,
Right.
this show like hits on so many different levels.
Mhm.
So I think that to me was the most perfect episode of the season. I think 6, you're right. Was 7, you said, was that the stage?
Yes,
Oh.
that's might actually be my favorite episode. Although first,
He's
I
amazing.
need to get a hold of the script for episode 6, only because I don't understand how you write all of that dialogue and the way that it's over the top. I mean, I feel like it had to be like 40% improv or something for them to just fire off the way that they did. It was unreal.
Yeah, the stage was actually, there really wasn't kind of an episode this season that I didn't like. There were some that were a little slower than others in some ways, but they were still meaningful and made sense. Like, I absolutely loved Marcus in
Denmark
Copenhagen.
or Copenhagen, yeah, Denmark.
Yeah, in Denmark. That was an amazing episode to me. That was so cool.
Where the
Poulter,
fuck did Will Poulter come from?
I
Right?
know.
Like,
I
just
loved him
out
in
of
it.
fucking no, and he was great.
oh, he was perfect. And
You know,
that's the
but-
thing too, is like, I think there was enough prestige around the first season that people wanted to be a part of it in the second. It's like Danny DeVito with Always Sunny, right? Like, you know, you see it and you're like, I want to be part of this. And you saw what it pulled in for episode 6. I mean, that cast was unbelievable. And then what did they pull back at one point? They brought back what's his face for like 2 seconds. Not Dane Cook.
No,
Joel
okay, hold on.
McHale.
Actually,
Joel
don't wait, hold on, because that will be a spoiler, and I don't drop that section, because when that comes up at the end of season 2, the impact of that is so much more than
I think even saying it here though, you won't remember that it's coming.
Yeah,
it's so small.
Like it goes, and because he's not mentioned past this, like the second or third episode in the first season.
I can't even think of what you're talking about.
Joel McHale.
I watched it.
No, Joel McHale played his angry Nazi boss in the first season that you only saw in a couple of flashbacks.
Okay.
And then he just pops up when Carmi's having a moment in the finale, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. And it's new footage. It's not like they took something and blapped it back in. There's so much about that final episode. Like, it's so hard. Andrew, you got to get on that. Because I don't want to. Just that final episode. There's so much that happens with so many of those characters that you like.
It's all over my feed. Basically, the bear is all over my feed. I have Chicago friends, but again, they're just one. I mean, they're like they couldn't have possibly been from Chicago, because that's not how we are. But that's just one group of people. But everyone else, that's the only one negative situation. But everyone else is like singing its praises. Same thing with Succession. Like, these are shows that are like, I know I'm missing, but literally like, now that I'm finally here, although it's still an empty place, like all the productivity that I've been wanting to do, it's about to be bananas. So like, because these past 2 years, I've just been prepping for this.
I'm actually really curious to see, if you watch Succession, what you think, because I think it's a beautifully made show. I think it's really intelligent. I think it's written well. All the acting's great. I don't like it that much. I still have a ways to go, but
you talk to me though. It's about like, who wants to watch a bunch of rich? I get it.
Like I have nothing in common with these people. I don't find them interesting at all. They're just shitty people with a lot of money.
So like, I have a friend who happens to, a friend who happens to be Indian, but British Indian, and they talk about big families, and there is money because they all got to like corner stores and things like that. So a lot of them have like millions, but it's a lot of backstabbing. It's a lot of maneuvering, rolling deep and all that shit. And that's all they knew. So yeah, I mean, it's even like Barbie. Like, at the end of the day, like, being able to relate to something, I think is a key to enjoying anything. So yeah, I can get why Succession is like, okay, this is like, okay. And then you guys are talking about again, The Bear. Like I tried, like I'm being a bit ridiculous now. I'm not being serious, but I got rejected by every single fast food restaurant I applied to. I applied to A&W, no. I applied to Taco Bell, no. I applied to McDonald's, no. You know, and I'm just like, well, fuck you guys then. And then my mom happened to be at Naturalizer Shoes in Stone Ridge, and then she told Charlie, the boss, like, hey, I'm trying to get, and that was my first fucking job. And so I've only worked in retail. Like I like shoes, then J Riggins was like suits, and then Miller's Outpost, and then after that it was like that's it.
Miller's Outpost.
Miller's Outpost.
Yeah. Yeah, Anchor blue jeans, baby. So yeah, I never did restaurants, and now I feel like left out because both my brothers started at McDonald's. You guys all work in restaurants. Motherfuckers met their spouses at restaurants, and here I am. Like maybe that's why I'm so dumb. But like, yeah. So I'm like, anyways, I'm ranting now.
The thing about working in a
Time for a
restaurant
night job.
Yeah,
Look up your second job.
at some point everybody hooks up with everybody in a restaurant. So
Yes.
you know, you have a chance at meeting somebody because you're going to meet everybody. You know, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think if you haven't worked in a restaurant, it doesn't matter. But what actually does help, I think, is if you've ever watched cooking shows, especially some of the
competition shows.
Yeah, there's a lot of terms, especially if you've ever watched Top
Kitchen
Chef,
Nightmares,
like Top Chef,
or
but like Top Chef for real, because that is closer to the way that real chefs interact than probably anything else. So
yeah, the menu is the only thing I got, which is I still think a good introduction though.
Which one?
Menu.
I just rewatched that as like a counterpoint to The Bear, and it's just
different. It's so different,
but it's not what it is, a caricature of the industry, whereas The Bear is like this hardcore look. But also, I mean, the menu is not wrong. Like all those pretentious fucks that are in there at that menu, there's people exactly like that in the real world. Every single person sitting there is a type of person that goes to these restaurants, and the points that they make in the movie are realistic points. He's got the one couple in there, and he's like, how many times have you been to my restaurant? And they're like 6 times. And he's like, cool. I have a waiting list so long that people can't get in. They want to get in and they can't. You've been here 6 times. What's the last thing you had? And they couldn't even remember the last thing they ordered. Right. So like all these people,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there was that one episode with the way when cousin went to go train. That was more like on the level of the menu as far as like the caliber of restaurant. Obviously not the intensity of,
Right.
That episode was murdering, so fucking good.
Yeah, and the things in the menu are preposterous, right? Like a dude just killing himself because he was never going to be that guy in front of everybody, and it is definitely in that regard not realistic. But the things that it says, if you peel it back, and the things it says about the restaurant industry at the highest level, at the French Laundry levels, at the Noma levels, all that stuff, is not that far off the mark. So,
I've never worked anywhere where everybody calls each other chef, though.
I have.
Yeah, no.
A million chefs. No, I haven't encountered that. But I have also not worked in fine dining. So
that's the thing. Jen and I both have similar restaurant experience, so it's more like, "Ay, chingon."
Yeah.
The fucking chicken's ready. Pinche baboso.
Yes. I've had that too. No, but I did. I worked in fine dining in Calistoga, and it wasn't as uptight as the menu. And the place that I worked at also, I didn't work at the French Laundry, which was only 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away. But it's a different world. The chef is like your chef is king. It's his menu, it's his restaurant, it's his world, and everybody is trying to become him. And so, the guy I worked for, Jan Birnbaum, he passed away not about 15 years ago. But he was a big time Cajun chef, and he was super, super good, super funny, got along great with the customers, big personality on the front of the house, but back of the house, his word was law.
So how would you compare? Obviously, the tone is different, but how would you compare, like, say, Chef to the Bear? The Jon Favreau, like they're.
I'd have to rewatch it. I forgot about that one, and it's been a while. And that one's a little different because a lot of it takes place in the food truck and outside of the restaurant.
Yeah. But, well, in the beginning though, that the whole thing before he melts down, and all that when he melts down with Oliver Platt is one of my favorite fucking scenes in the movie. It's fucking molten. He's like crumbling it up in front of that dude. It's so good. Yeah. Has anybody else seen that? Does anybody else know what the fuck Kevin and I are talking about right now?
No.
Chef, it's a great one. I think it's last time I saw it. I think it was on Netflix. HBO. Is it on HBO? It's one of the two.
It might be on Netflix. It's called Chef. It's got Jon Favreau, John Leguizamo, Sofia Vergara, Robert Downey Jr. makes an appearance, Oliver Platt, Scarlett Johansson. It's a great story. It's, especially if you like food, especially if you like Cuban food.
Yeah, and he trained with like a big deal chef
Roy Choi.
Too. Yeah, Roy Choi.
Because there's also Chef Show on Netflix that talks about like the food truck and how he went on from there. We've made a number of things in the show, like that aglio olio pasta he makes when he's cooking for Scarlett Johansson. We make that friggin' all the time. The grilled cheese, grilled cheeses like that all the time now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun one, and the story's good. Like it's definitely, amazing. But it's a positive film, right? Like it's not like The Menu where it's a murder fest, and it's not like The Bear where it's all the drama of behind the scenes. It's a father and son film. Really, is the gist of it.
But do not eat it on an empty stomach, or do not watch on an empty stomach.
Oh yeah,
because you will empty your cabinets out watching
food in that movie for sure.
It'll make you hungry.
But going back to The Bear real quick before we close it out, I think I'm with everybody. Season 2 was perfect. Everybody in the parts that they had were absolutely perfect. Even the bit stuff in episode 6, like John Mulaney was fantastic in his little role. Sarah Paulson was amazing because she's Sarah Paulson. Like it's not fair, but And I see why Jamie Lee Curtis is being talked about for, winning for her role. It was unbelievable.
I love Jamie Lee Curtis because she is, unlike so many people in Hollywood, she is doing the aging thing and just saying, fuck it. I'm older. This is what I look like. These are the roles that I can play. Now, this is where I'm at in my life. That's what I'm going to play. Yeah. Like, she's not trying to look younger and play younger. She's like, no. And I think that's part of what sells you on that role so much. Because I haven't had a holiday with that much kind of drama, but my family loves to put the fun in dysfunctional. And so there's, that's why I get why that is so anxiety. That episode is so anxiety for people, especially if you don't have a family where you've had those big family events. And Andrew's looking at us quizzically right now, and it's like when you see it, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit, bro!" There's when weird family dynamics, especially when things come out with money and fucking other shit, people get very strange, and all of a sudden there's other people in the room and things go around, and it's very uncomfortable. Like we joke, my father-in-law loved him to death. He's just an old dude, right? He's just an older guy. He's a little racist, really conservative. He's 81 years old. The guy fought in Vietnam. Like, I can't, it's there. I'm not changing this dude's mind on anything. So we laugh. There's an old Saturday Night Live sketch back from like the 2016 election, like even before that, like when Ben Carson was still, was running that whole election, where whenever people start talking about politics or saying something weird, the little girl plays "Hello" from Adele, and all of a sudden everybody at the table starts lip syncing to it. And it's a great sketch. Awesome fucking digital sketch. But so what we do is now whenever we have family dinners of any kind, my daughter and I have that queued up. And so we'll wait for anyone to say anything vaguely political or anything else. And one of us will just look at each other and be like, and you just hear it from under the table. "Hello, it's me." And the two of us start cracking up, and everybody else is like, right? But it is definitely an anxiety ridden show. Like you are walking on a tightrope through the whole episode, because even though, like you said, it's in your face. Okay, this is what I mean by a slow boil. It is definitely in your face, but that entire episode, I'm like, this shit is about to pop off, and it's gonna pop off. Okay, no, it didn't pop off right there. Oh, here it is. Nope.
Yeah, and then there's a few moments where,
and then all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, it's there's a few moments where they almost resolve stuff. There's some clarity given to Carmi and Mike's relationship too, that I think they give you in a really nice way in that kind of closet scene when they're looking for whatever it is they're looking for their mom. But there's some interesting dynamics that are shown there that explain so much about the restaurant that you don't really get in the first season. And it's really cool.
This show is good at giving you a shit ton of backstory and explanation of something 30 seconds 5 episodes later. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's what it was. It's like you said right there, that whole exchange was like a minute, 2 minutes long, but all of a sudden it puts like 4 different episodes, and indeed basically really the entire tomato can situation at the end of season 1, which we really don't understand because they never talk about it after that, right? And that's I'm trying not to spoil that for Andrew, because but all of a sudden like they explain, that basically gets explained to you, and just all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, so that's where some of that, I just think I haven't, like, I watched the first season when it first came out and I absolutely loved it. I think I talked about it on the show back then. Mm-hmm. I brought it up.
I think you watched it before I did.
Oh yeah, I watched it like so. It was literally, it got like I picked it up on, I think season, or like episode 5 of the first season, when it was just released on FX, when they didn't like dump it all on you. And it's just so goddamn good. Andrew, trust me, once you have the time to sit down and watch it.
I mean, there's no part of me that doubts that. I mean, Bob Odenkirk. I mean, you had me at Bob. Look, I love that guy. I love the whole.
And his cameo is so good. Just one more person that's just just drawing shit out. That's just chipping away at the people in this family that don't need to be chipped away at, right?
Yeah.
I like that slow burn suspense shit, because I feel like that's what, like, Better Call Saul had a lot of, like, or Tuco Salamanca, and just all like, just like, are they gonna, I like that. So we'll see if, again, I know this is not, okay. One thing about me is, if I say I'm going to do something, it's not a matter of if I'm going to do it. It's a matter of when. So I will definitely be watching the show, and we can have a proper discussion. And I feel bad that you guys couldn't be as free because I was here. I volunteered to leave, but you guys said no.
Well, now that I know that about you, I know I'm gonna get my unenthusiastic hand job at some point. So we're good.
Is there any other kind? But all right. Well, we nailed that. We've answered everything there is to possibly answer about the bear.
I got a bunch of little stuff.
You just got your unbearable shirt on. I just realized.
Yeah, the bear.
That episode was unbearable for me.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
So if you have Stars, or you don't have Stars but you have Hulu, it's worth it to try like your free trial subscription soon. And get that, because Minx and Heels are both coming back for their second season. I've talked about both of these on the show before. The first season, Heels is a wrestling show. I will preface, I have not watched or been interested in wrestling since the early 80s when it was on Saturday morning cartoons. It just never stuck with me. Some people loved it.
Wait, I gotta stop for a second. Wait, hold on. Wait, so you weren't there for the late 80s? Like no Ultimate Warrior, no Macho
Oh
Man?
no, okay, let's just say 80s. We'll just go excuse me,
late
yes, 80s, yeah.
Okay,
I remember all like Ultimate Warrior, Undertaker.
Yeah.
Like I used to my little brother and I and friends, Bruce the Barber Beefcake was my man. I loved the British Bulldogs. Like I loved all that shit. Yeah. This show is like it's a story of a guy trying to keep his dad's Mid-Atlantic wrestling. It's a small town. They, the wrestling is what they do. It's an independent thing. They stream it on the internet. They're trying to get gobbled up by other guys who are trying to become thing. All this family dynamics and drama because his brother wrestles too. The dad has killed himself. Just like all this stuff that happens. It's really, really good with wrestling as a backdrop. And there is some wrestling because you need that to support all the drama, but it's so much more than that. And it's another one of these that's like the entire cast is absolutely fucking amazing. And the whole thing. So that's coming back for season 2. Minx is the most hilarious shit in a total like. Minx is the story of a young woman who is graduating college in the 70s. She is a super feminist. She wants to start this super feminist magazine. She goes to all these publishing conventions. No one wants to buy it. She meets up with this guy played by Jake Johnson, who does an amazing job. He is a pornographer. And so he's going to print her feminist magazine, but it's going to be a nudie magazine with naked men. And it's putting this whole magazine together, and her and Jake Johnson. It's really, really good. It's funny, but it's also it's a dramedy. It's way more on the funny side than it is, but it's not like laugh a minute funny kind of thing. It's a great show though. It's a cool little snapshot of that time period. A lot of great performances in it. You love her sister. I'm forgetting the actress's name now, but you'd look at her and go, "Oh, okay, I know the chick." So many people in it pop in and out. Really, just a fun story. But again, totally worth it to. If you don't get Stars, you can always get like a free preview through Hulu, and you can binge both of those. Back on Apple TV, season 2 of The After Party has just started.
Yeah, I need to watch the first season of that. That looks hilarious.
So good. It's a murder mystery starring Sam Robertson and Tiffany Haddish at the core of the two of them. Murder happens, and the course of the season, it's an after party from a school reunion, and Xavier, played by Dave, what's his bucket? His brother was the disaster artist.
God damn it.
What is his name? his brother. He's like the prettiest man on the planet. He's been roasted.
No, he is not.
James Franco, Dave Franco.
James Franco is not the prettiest man on the planet.
You should have just said the guy got canceled, man. Shit. Or Spider-Man's like Harry Osborn or Norman. Yeah, Harry Osborn.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dave Franco plays this like teen, like the pop superstar Xavier, who was like the nerd in high school, and he grew up and did the whole thing. So it was a big deal that he was at the reunion, and then he gets murdered at the reunion by someone. And so what happens is each episode, Tiffany Haddish comes in as the detective, and if you like Tiffany Haddish, you will love this because she is Tiffany Haddish all the friggin' way.
Yeah, even in the trailer, she's very
she is fucking Tiffany Haddish. But it's great. It's because it's perfect. It's like when Awkwafina is Awkwafina. Like it's exactly what it's the same kind of thing. She comes in as the detective, and she's got to solve the case before like the rest of the police get there and blah blah blah. But it's each episode are the events of the night from their perspective and their view. And it's it's very Agatha Christie that way, with that clue, if you will. But it all works so well, and it's such a fun, great mystery. And season 2 is starting off to be just as good, with even more stars in it this time. Different, but like there's just a shit ton of people. It's a great show though to watch. It's fun. Half-hour long episodes. You can burn through it pretty fast. but it's a shit ton of fun.
So is season 2 about the same mystery, or is it a new mystery?
No, it's a new mystery. Yeah, it's a new mystery, and again, it's because it's a mystery. I'm not going to spoil or anything at all. So but I mean, there's nothing. We're like I said, we're only 3 episodes into season 2, so there's nothing to spoil yet. But season 1 is just so damn good. Let's see. Did I have anything else that was? Oh, yes. Hold on. I gotta talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I watched something else. Speaking of the 80s, Andrew, I watched something else on Netflix. I want to get the exact name of it though.
All right.
I remember it, and it's
Porn.
No. It's hold on. It's Muscles. I want to say it's the Muscles and the Mayhem.
The American Gladiators thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been seeing like interstitials about it, but I haven't turned it on. I never watched that show actually. But I know.
Okay,
I caught it here and there. It was fun to watch, but
so yeah, I watched it. I don't want to say religiously, but I watched it a lot when it was on. I did not realize when watching this show, how some of it's gonna go, like the story. It's basically the story of the show and the story of the American Gladiators on the show. Nitro, ice, so like all of them. It's hilarious. But you know how it's going to go with them, because it ends at some point, and they're these athletes, so it's going to end with them like broken and trying to figure out what to do with themselves at the end. But I never realized how big that show actually became. It was one of the #1 syndicated shows for a long time. And what really wound up breaking the camel's back was like they did a American Gladiators tour that they had, and it's if you liked American Gladiators and you hold it with some sort of like nostalgia and whatnot, it is definitely worth watching. It's also worth watching if you just want to get that late 80s early 90s feel back, because the whole vibe throughout the whole show is that nonstop, so it's really, really fun. But yeah, the Muscles and the Mayhem. I think that's really, I want to hear about Barbie, or we can talk about Strange New Worlds.
We should do Barbie first, so that so these two can go off for a little while. Number one, before we get into the politics of it, like, what is the story of the Barbie movie? Because I have no fucking idea. I've seen the commercials. Yeah. I have no idea what it's about. What is the point of the Barbie movie?
Who wants to go first?
You go. I feel like you're a better storyteller.
I will do my best. All right. So, fuck it. All right. So the movie starts off actually with an allusion to 2001. So it opens up and it's like, since the beginning of time, little girls have had dolls, or these, little girls playing with dolls, but they're babies, but they've never been like a grown woman before. And then Barbie shows up like a monolith. And then all of a sudden the girls like start smashing the dolls like they're smashing the bones, throw them up, and then you go to present. And there's 2 universes. There's the real universe and Barbieverse. And in the Barbieverse, basically it's
Barbie Land.
Barbie Land. Yeah, thank you. So in Barbie Land, Barbies rule, and Barbie is like all Barbie. So it's definitely an inclusive Barbie. It's not just stereotypical Barbie, but every kind of Barbie is represented. And basically, everything is well in Barbie Land. And basically the women rule, and the Kens are just kind of like accessories. They're appendages. They're just like totally afterthoughts. And their whole purpose of like living in Barbie Land is to basically be recognized by Barbie. And if Barbie doesn't want to recognize them, they're SOL. So homeboy, Mr. Six-Pack, who is definitely gonna get a lot of love after this movie, like he's like, kind of like sad or whatever. But then Margot Robbie's Barbie all of a sudden is thinking about death and has like cellulite. So she's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And then it turns out that there's fucked up Barbie. You remember all the names, but
her name is Weird Barbie.
Weird Barbie, who is Kate McKinnon, who was brilliant in the role.
Yes.
She's like, someone who played with you is like, their psyche is like fucking with your psyche, and you need to go to the real world and like fix that shit, basically. So that's how you get like Barbie and Ken in like the real world. But what happens is Ken then sees that it's a man's world. He's like, holy shit, the patriarchy is dope. You know, fuck like our lives right now. So he goes back to Barbie land and basically indoctrinates the Kens with like, we got to fucking take this shit over. And all the women Barbies just go along with it. So by the time Barbie comes back and she meets his mother and daughter team, by the way, then the shit is flipped around. And that's basically kind of like the conflict that they have to resolve. So that's kind of like the setup for the film. But I gotta say, like, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like, for the first, I would say, shit, like maybe hour, 15 minutes. At one point, I was like this.
Yes,
Like,
I knew exactly you were going to be like that.
I knew
it was going to be the end that was going to come around a little more for you.
Once you actually started getting into stuff, like it is the total ESFP movie. Like it's very, very substance performative. Any kind of deep thought is almost anathema. It's like, why are you thinking about death? Like, what the fuck? You know, like, no, everything's happy, everything's wee, you know, and it's just really fucking silly. And then the dudes who show up, like, again, every male figure is like a fucking buffoon, you know. So that's kind of like, that's my opening. I keep saying salvo, so fuck it, that's my opening salvo. But I hope I set up the story narratively at least for you guys to understand what's about.
Yes. So from the previews, I know a lot of people were like worried about bringing their kids and all that because, you know, they had the whole like, we're going to beat you off, we're going to beat you off and all that stuff. So of course, mothers are worried that they're going to be taking their kids and seeing all these sort of things.
This is the only interjection I have. I think that is still so funny to me because if anybody takes the 45 minutes it takes to watch The Toys That Made Us and watch the history of Barbie, and you find out she's based on a German hooker doll that a guy found, that it's really... if you only watch, especially after this movie, if you only watch one episode of The Toys That Made Us on Netflix, go watch the Barbie episode. It will both trip you out about Barbie's origins and also make you applaud the woman who was behind Barbie for so many fucking years, because she would have had
exactly. She's all over the movie. Like, to me,
is she
like an Oracle figure from the Matrix?
Yes.
She's the Oracle.
I'm not going to spoil who. Don't spoil who it is though, because I thought that was kind of fun. You know? Okay, yeah.
No. I'm listening to. I'm like, yo, this is teamwork. We're gonna talk about this movie and
get through it. But basically, when I was watching it, sure, there's gonna be those innuendos but not as much as I thought. Like, I don't think people needed to be worried, you know, about it in that sense as much as they did. I think that just really set the tone, and then people were worried. But of course, there were some little things that kind of caught you off guard, but a lot of it went over your head. I'd say, depending on your kid and your family, like I took my 9-year-old, she didn't understand things. I was actually wondering if she was going to like it because it does get serious, but she loved it. And then I took my 14-year-old and she loved it because she could understand it like on a deeper level. But yeah, it's really a mix of like camp and satire and musical numbers and drama, and it's just like visually crazy. And then there's a lot of nostalgia to it because if you've ever played with Barbies, there's like Meg and Alan and like all the ones Barbies that, you know, you played with when you were younger. So that's kind of fun to see. I loved Weird Barbie, who was Kate McKinnon, because most kids that play with Barbie, like they screw them up somehow. They give them a haircut, they draw on them. So she was, and she's always, that was the big thing, is she's always in the splits. And is just so typical of a kid playing with Barbie. So I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, so I kind of put this in my Facebook post, but I feel like the first third, you need to look at it through the lens of like playing with Barbies. It's really silly. It's cheesy. That's why Andrew's like, what in the hell? Maybe Andrew, you know, didn't play with Barbie, so he's not understanding it from that angle, which is understandable. But then the middle just gets crazy with when the Kens come back. It's super weird and trippy, and that's why I said, you know, adults might want to take a little edibles there because you could just really have a good time with that. And then the end gets serious, like really serious, like serious matters and more dramatic, more tears. And it was trippy. It was like a roller coaster. I just didn't expect that at all. I thought it was going to be all funny game, but there was also a lot of laughter, you know, things that just catch you off guard. But a lot of the laughter is kind of like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? Like, is this really happening?
Oh, that's great.
So before we get into the politics of the movie, I do have to point out that we started talking about the Barbie movie, and for some reason, Pete had to feed his oral fixation. He just jamming shit.
Probably
in his
gonna
mouth.
go have another one.
Yeah, you are.
Candy popsicles during the winter.
What a guy! What a guy! So, I know, Andrew, you were itching to talk about the. It's not
woke
politics,
agenda that Ben Shapiro
yeah,
talked about for 43 minutes.
The wokeness
on his review.
Yeah. I can't.
Did you see that?
I did, and he was wearing a denim jacket. He looked like a total fucking fool. I was like, my God, dude, you look stupider than anything this movie could possibly do.
Did you post it in the thing? It was just a meme I saw where it was like where Ben Shapiro was like, my company or like my producers made me go and watch this. And it's his, and he's like, and then it's his 43-minute, and somebody goes, "You own the company, bro. You just wanted to see it."
Yeah.
Just create problems.
Yeah,
honestly, I'd rather somebody go and watch it and complain about it than all the people that I see complaining about it that have not seen it. And I could tell they haven't seen it because the way they're talking about it, I'm like, you don't even know what the story's about. So I know they haven't watched it. It's just the moms that are like, you know, whatever, like
those are the moms that are offended on other people's behalf.
They're coming for your children and they're grooming you, and it's like, okay, you know, I get that some of this might be a little bit more mature language or, you know, poking fun at things.
It's PG-13.
Exactly. I mean,
they're allowed one F word,
right? Like, and there was, I think that younger kids are going to actually have a little harder time sitting through it because it does get serious, and they're not going to understand kind of like the more gender roles that are going on and the patriarchy that they're talking about and all that kind of stuff. But I would say, like, depending on your kid, like an 8, 9 and above, it's good for, but it's PG-13. So
yeah, I think it was made, again, I think the core of the movie was just, you know, being a woman, being a girl. Like, you know, there's a mom and her daughter, and apparently her daughter is like, you know, like the mom is actually like the one who liked Barbie, and the daughter is like super cynical, and you know, and that's a theme. Even with like the creator of Barbie kind of looked at Barbie as her own kid, basically. It's like that dynamic is there. There's also something called identity role theory. They didn't spell it out in the movie, but it's very important. And it also talked about how I think a lot of women in general, in particular, have a hard time feeling okay. Like they feel like one of the things that Barbie's always been criticized about is setting unrealistic expectations and how you have to be perfect, you know? And then, so there's this one like moment where there's a speech where someone goes off and says, well, we're being told to be thin, but you can't say thin. So you have to say healthy, but you can't be too thin, you know? And then we have to like be moms, but we can't talk about our kids too much. And then we have to like all these contradictions and all these things that make it hard to be a woman, basically. And when she was done, like literally the whole theater was like,
I can guarantee like every woman that saw that
like, oh my
related
God, yes,
completely. Yes.
You know, so it's like the whole mediocrity, it's the whole like pressure to be something, you know, but they flipped it because what happened was identity role theory talks about how if you put your sense of okayness in the roles you are versus who you are, you're in trouble. So basically, if you were on an island and you stripped away all the things you are, like whether you're, you know, your job or you're a mother or you're a sister or you're whatever, like if you get your sense of worth from those things and not from who you are as a person, then when those things change, you're fucked. But it's important to understand and find out who you are as a person outside of all the roles that you do for other people. So so Ken basically gets that. Like at the end of the film, it's like, yo, Ken, like, I know that you first felt like the whole point of your existence was to be an accessory to me, and then you found the patriarchy. So you found like a whole new thing to fucking latch onto, and we took that shit away from you. So who the fuck are you, Ken? Because you can't be like my boyfriend. Like that's just stop it, but that's important. And then Barbie has to figure that shit out for herself too, and she does. But so that's what I mean by deep shit. And I think that the movie, again, I was like, Greta Gerwig, I think as director always has something to say. She definitely, I think, comes from a giving voice to women lens. The Lyft driver that I had leaving the theater, like she had her own opinions on the film. And they were kind of akin to what you were saying, Jen, in that, it's not like we don't want to necessarily like say all men are bad, or like, it's the women's turn now and like we're just gonna like run everything. Like there's a balance. And she was talking about how like a guy opened a door for someone, like when like it was two people, and then she's like, I don't need you to do that, and she was like, there was no harm. Like you don't need to like come down on the dude for actually being polite, like that's kind of sending the wrong message. So I think that's the kind of balancing act that this movie, I think at the end pulls off. But I would say for most of it, it's like, yeah, no, men are shit. Like
it made a bit of a mockery of men, a bit of mockery of the corporate world.
Oh, the corporate. And then the other thing is, I used to work in magazines, and it's like I called the corporate people at Mattel. It's not all men. Like it's not.
I think they just had to be really extreme with it because they're trying to like make a point here, and like and it's okay. We I was getting a little worried. What was that?
I said it's okay. As men, we can take one on our chin. We're due a couple.
I know. I mean, that's good. I did have that feeling. I was just like, okay, we have to take so much crap sometimes. So how come, the men can't? But what I was telling them before you hopped on is that just for me and like I'm not going to the Barbie movie worried that my kids are, having too much to live up to, because I have those conversations with my daughters. Like, I know, like, and I actually had another conversation with my youngest after, like, but she doesn't feel like Barbie set some unrealistic expectation. I know that's what everybody says, but that's not, at least for what it is for us.
Like someone says, let's like, the mother goes, why don't we just have like a normal, like I think she even sees the word mediocre, and then one guy's like, that's a terrible idea, and then someone goes, that's making a lot of money. Oh, that's a great idea, so it's like, I do, and I have had conversations with people like this, for women who've actually said, I feel like nothing I do is good enough, period. And I think I don't think that's because of Barbie. I think there's so many things that are involved in that. Yeah. But like, even when we were going to the movie, my youngest was like, can I bring my Barbie? I'm like, sure, bring, a Barbie. So she, Barbie used to be the more stereotypical Barbie, when that company first started out, she was the thin, the hourglass figure, all that. But there are so many different Barbies now.
Yes.
And so when she came, and I thought she's going to bring me typical Barbie. She goes and brings me one of her, I mean, I don't know how to say it, but like one of her like normal body, they're like a little heavier. Like, I don't know if you've seen them, but like a normal woman. And I was like, wow, like that's just the kind of stuff that I'm like, I know this isn't screwing my kid up. Like, she is a Barbie lover, and whatever the fear is that people have about it is not happening, at least in here. So what about midway in the movie, when there was a lot of the mocking the men and all that, it did take me aback a little bit, because I was like, shit, I don't want my kids I don't want women to have to be uplifted at the expense of men being, diminished. And I just want my kids to know that both roles are important, and we all have something to add. But in the end, like I said, it did balance out. And so I felt super happy about it. And I felt like it did have a good lesson, you know, in that. And they could see that, you know, it all worked out. We all worked it out together, because they did. The Kens and the Barbies, they all worked on it together and made Barbie Land great again.
They were like, can we be on the Supreme Court? And you're like, no, you wait your turn. You could be on the lower court, you know. So just like the real world, where women are like, you wait your turn. Like they did do that. So that was kind of like just to keep it real. But the one thing that I really thought was a poignant message was, again, I think Greta Gerwig's whole thing is it's hard to be a woman, right? And they basically said Barbie is not even a real woman, yet she is so controversial. Like even Barbie can't like be not criticized. She's not even a real woman. You know. So again, I think this movie at the end of the day. I forgot to mention performances, dude. I did see in my feed someone was saying that Ryan Gosling should be up for like best supporting actor or something like that. And I'm like, okay, whatever, right? But I saw, dude, like, no, he killed it. Like, I think that he really, like, you can tell, like, he actually, I don't think I've ever seen him that brolic. Like, he really put in work to be, like, a brolic Ken. And then he goes from this, like, wussy, supplicant, like, accessory Ken to uber douchey Ken. Yes. But honestly, I'm sorry, even though he's supposed to be douchey, the vibe I got from the women in the audience were like, oh yeah, we like that. You know, like the whole time, you know, because physically, like he was pop. Like he just
Ryan Gosling.
He was like flexing his bicep at one point. I was just like what the fuck, dude? Anyway, so props to you. You put your heart and soul into that role.
See, I heard months ago. I heard people say months ago that it is the best work Ryan Gosling's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
When they first started watching
probably it. Is. By the way, I caught some shade. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but Ryan and Justin Timberlake, like they do not like each other. They have history.
Mickey Mouse Club.
Exactly.
Beef.
So Alan, who by the way is like the only halfway positive dude in the movie, but he's totally shown as, I hate to use the word beta because I'm going to sound like one of those fucking whatever dudes. But anyway, he is a beta, right? And because he's a beta, he's the only one who's actually cool enough to kick it with like the Barbies, right? So he's always being like talked over, whatever. Anyway, they called un-APNC all Allens, you know, and to me that was like, ooh, that was low-key shade. Most people were over their heads, but I personally think no, he was absolutely calling Justin and his merry men a bunch of Allens.
That's funny.
Allen's played by that one nerdy guy who was in oh shit, man, what's his name? He was in Superbad. You know what I'm talking about? An awkward dude. Also in that video game movie.
Oh, Michael Cera.
Thank you, Michael Cera. So, who was definitely not, I would say, anyone's idea of like, you know, the hunk. So,
but anyway. He was Alan. He was like a different kind of Barbie in the past.
He was a discontinued,
he wasn't, you know,
lame.
He was like an old school one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Michael Cera was kind of a cute high school boy in Juno.
I mean, hey, everybody has a different type, you know, but no, I always like him. I like him in things. I like, nobody probably knows him. I just love Jamie. I don't know how to say it. Jamie Demetro. He was one of the Mattel execs. He was like the right-hand man to Will Ferrell. But I love him because I always talk about Cruella. I love Cruella and I love his role in Cruella. He's like the manager and he's so pompous and like just the way he speaks. I just love it. I think he's hilarious. But then to see him in this movie, it's just such like an opposite role. And I love seeing that in actors. Like, I just love it. I don't know.
Yeah. So Kingsley Ben-Adir, who we've been talking about a lot. Okay. He played Malcolm X. Okay. So Malcolm X is a series.
Fucking brilliantly then One Night Miami. Oh my God.
So then he goes to Gravik, who's this asshole, like alien Skrull in Marvel. Then he played a detective in this thing called the OA. And in this movie, he plays this kind of almost like prissy Ken. So it was Simu Liu or whatever.
Yeah.
Simu Liu, Kingsley Ben-Adir, and Ryan Gosling were the three main Kens. So yeah, he's nothing like his other characters. And I'm trying to figure out which one is the real Kingsley, because you know, you seem pretty Francie in this movie. yet you were Malcolm X in another movie, and you're again a villain that I want to die in Secret Invasion. So
but I love that. I love when they can be so broad and, I don't know.
He is also in something else coming out soon that they just I'm trying to find where it is by looking at him, like that they just said, oh no, he's gonna be the next blah blah blah, and they named it. What the hell was it?
Either way,
sorry, I'm taking a moment.
I've never seen him in any. I haven't seen him in anything I didn't like. I really think he's going to take over for. I keep forgetting his fucking name, Majors. I think he's going to take the slot that Jonathan Majors was going to have, but Majors fucked it up. So
One Night in Miami, he was in the series High Fidelity. He was in Peaky Blinders, OA. There was something else I saw him in. Oh yeah, he had a really small role in King Arthur: Legend of the Sword.
Is that the Guy Ritchie one that nobody saw?
Yeah, I saw that. That was.
Did you say America Ferrera's the mom? Did you see that?
Yeah, and it's crazy how older she looks. Like,
I know.
That's crazy.
I will say, having a young, like a 9-year-old and having a 14-year-old, like, this movie definitely got me in the throat, because it's all about, when you see the mom and the teen's relationship, and her and just seeing like the teen pulling apart from the mom. I mean, I definitely got a little choked up because I felt like this was like my life. Right?
That's who the movie was for. Like, again, like that's why I'm sitting, like, I'm a spectator. Shit, this is not for me. But like, and, oh, by the way, I've never seen an emptier bathroom for the dudes, like, after the movie was over. The Taylor Swift concert, I'm sure you saw that picture where, like, I've never seen like Soldier Field's like bathroom empty.
Yeah, I give you mad respect for doing this, and I appreciate you doing it. So we could talk about it, and I just have to say, like, I'm Knuff. Remember that at the end on his shirt? Oh my god, that just cracked me up. So
yes,
so I really want to see this movie.
I think you're gonna love it.
To do a part 2, because I also want to do some more reading about what was like what Alan was, and so I want to get your take, and you have to too. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's why I want. It's funny. I've wanted to see this more than Stella at 11 years old has wanted to see it. Like she was going to go see it with grandma, and they were like, just because it looked so interesting right from the jump off to me. I was very much like, you had the two different scripts. There was originally with Amy Schumer and what's her bucket. It was a different director.
Oh,
Amy
that's
Schumer.
Right. And then, she was supposed to be Barbie, right?
Yeah, Amy Schumer was going to be Barbie. It was going to be a completely different story and script. And like you said, when Greta Gerwig got attached. And then I saw Margot Robbie, and you hear Ryan Gosling as Ken, and I'm going, okay, this is going to be interesting. Because Greta Gerwig is not going to make, like, it's going to be a think piece on some level.
Right.
That's just the way she rolls, which is awesome. Like, that's the kind of director she is, and I fucking love that. But yeah, I totally want to see this. We can talk about it again, hopefully more next week, because I know Soph wants to come on and talk to you, Jen, about The Summer I Got Pretty. I think we put that. Is
Jen totally froze? But I also wanted to say really quick, Margot did a great job. I can't believe we haven't talked about her as the star, but
I heard she's slated,
and she's. I mean, sorry, like. You cast her well. If you want to cast someone as like Barbie, like gorgeous, beautiful Barbie, like they hit the nail.
It's amazing though, dude. I'm serious. I can't stress enough going and watching just that one episode of The Toys That Made Us. When you find out everything that goes into Barbie and the fact that they change Barbie's look up every few years, the way her eyes look, the way her mouth is, her body shape. They do, all sorts of stuff like that. I kind of agree with Jen. The idea of Barbie giving young girls, especially today's day and age, it might have been a long time ago in the past. Like I could see when Barbie was around in the 60s and 70s and things like that. And again, I think if you watch the thing, it'll even make more sense. I do see how it could give negative body image, because remember at that point Barbie was the biggest toy when it came out, marketed to girls, right? Like even in, I think it was like it's Monopoly, or Mousetrap. One of the original ads or boxes for that says family fun game, and it's got a picture of the dad and the son at the table playing while the mom and the daughter are in the back of the sink washing.
I think it's Battleship.
You know, it's you know, there's so much to it, and you don't think about it anymore. Go back and watch Mona Lisa Smile. Perfect example. They throw so much of that in there. That's another great movie if you've never seen it. That's just fucking phenomenal. A lot of people, it gets slept on. I'm not the hugest Julia Roberts fan. She's great in that. Every woman in there. Maggie Gyllenhaal is fucking amazing in that. Fucking, you know, we were just talking about that whole like negative body type towards women may have been more of a like when Barbie was kind of first out in like that 60s and 70s, when she was kind of at her peak in that, because it was one of the first and only toys actually marketed towards girls. And women are so assaulted today more just with social media and TV and film and everything else with different beauty standards. I don't think Barbie is such a big deal anymore in that respect. I do think it's good. I love the inclusivity that Barbie's been going through. Like Jen, you said, like the quote unquote normal size, you know, Barbies and things like that Barbie has gone through and made a Barbie, you know, every skin tone under the sun, and even different body shapes,
like a wheelchair Barbie doing some dancing.
Yes.
No, I think Barbie has done things, you know, but Mattel, that's the other thing I thought was really cool, like to see the Mattel logo, like kind of like the way Marvel's doing it. Like these toy companies are figuring it out. Like they're figuring out how to, like, you know, bring their IP to life. So it'll be, you know, one last thing I'll just say really quick though, I gotta, you know, represent for a second. So Sunbow, who did, of course, Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Inhumanoids, and Centurions, and Visionaries, doing way too much context.
Oh, Sunbow. Okay, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about.
Their answer to Mattel's Barbie, because Sunbow was Hasbro, and Sunbow did Jam. So basically, if I was Hasbro and I saw this shit, I'd be like, first of all, Synergy was an AI, okay? Number one. So we were doing AI shit in the 80s. Number two, we were inclusive in the fucking 80s. We had a Latina, we had an Asian, we had a Black girl, plus Jerrica Benton and her sister. 5. We were United Colors of Benetton in the 80s, plus AI. And we had music. And I actually, as a dude, I still know 2 of those damn songs. Like, I Believe in Happy Endings and Shangri-La. They were the fucking bomb. Anyway, back in 2000, if I was a producer, I totally would have made Britney Jem, and I would have had Christina Aguilera be Stormer. I mean, yeah, not Stormer.
Stormy.
Pizzazz.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would have done. Fucking idiots. Like, missed opportunity, whatever. But now that Barbie has done it, if Hasbro has any fucking brains, they would stop. I know you said the movie wasn't that bad, but
okay, now hold on.
Closer to the 80s and do it like Barbie, because Barbie, this movie got the aesthetic down. Like the fact that I didn't play with the dolls, but you were nodding your head. They throw like the costumes, and it would freeze frame, and I'm sure for people who play with the dolls, they remember that shit.
Yeah, so they were like all the
like you have to respect. I'm not passionate about fucking Barbie, and no, it was Gem. You have to respect the source material. You know, don't reinvent it.
So Gem, the live action Gem movie that they did, I think for me was almost like the first Constantine that they did with Keanu Reeves, where it used the source material. It was not at all like the source material, but in its own little world. If you didn't call it Gem and the Holograms and it was its own little thing and idea, it actually wasn't that bad a movie. I love the Keanu Reeves Constantine.
Yeah, no,
But the TV show was much more like Constantine. Like the TV show Constantine was way more like Hellblazers, and that. And I think that I agree with you. I think we need, like, I would go see a Gem and the Holograms movie in a heartbeat, son. I loved the Misfits, like all of it. That shit was great. Like you said, they yes. No, they
the manager of the Misfits. Then you had fucking what's his
Rico.
name? Rio. Yeah, Rio was but again, it was a fucking AI. I'm sorry, dude. AI is this shit right now. Okay, I'm sorry.
AI is the devil right now.
You guys need to figure that out. Figure it out.
You're thinking of it as like because you're a good person. But when it gets into the wrong hands, that's the problem. We can't be trusting all these people.
I agree, Shannon. Thank you for that. No, but you know what? Anyways, I'm just saying, like, just figure it out. Get it right.
Oh hell yeah!
And I love the fact that it's also like this whole franchise shit has been a boys' club with Merle and everything. So it's cool to see women get their shit as far as like a big blockbuster film about a franchise, because it's a franchise. Let's keep it real. That from the fucking really 60s, whatever. But like I remember the Barbie commercials of the 80s, like so House and all that shit. Dream Dancer. Da, 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 da. Anyway, I remember all that shit. So it's like let's do Gem. Let's do My Little Pony. Let's.
Well, My Little Pony has never gone away. Okay. My Little Pony they've been making My Little Pony cartoons in some form or another. Care Bears, they have been making Care Bears cartoons in one form or another, can continue up until like I think the last series was like 6 or 7 years ago that they did. So those have kept active. I would I mean Care Bears is due for kind of a reboot. I think you're gonna see a ton more properties, especially from our youth, pop off after Turtles comes out at the beginning of August.
Yeah,
that looks amazing, absolutely amazing, and I think it's going to hit all the nostalgic points with enough of an upgrade. It's got this kind of animation thing like Spider-Verse going on. Like, it's different.
They did kind of change April though. I mean, again, and I saw.
I like that though. No, but they changed April's. But they changed April's whole thing. It does. I think April now seems like she's an independent vlogger or something. She doesn't work for the news station. Like it's a whole different deal. I'm okay with that because the Turtles are also actually playing teenaged in this movie. When you watch that preview, they really are playing as teenagers at this point. Whereas like in the original cartoon that we got, like they called them Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but if you read any of the Eastman and Laird comic books in the beginning, especially when they're black and white, there was some teenage-esque humor, but these were not teenagers. In watching this trailer, I'm like, oh no, these are like teenage kids, like with ninja like they're acting like dumbass kids. Like, and I think Seth Rogen is the perfect person to have put this together.
Well, after I saw that food one, like I trust him. Terrible, vulgar film, but I loved it. You remember
which one? Sausage Fest?
Yeah, man. It was so bad. Did you guys see that one?
Sausage
Fest? Oh hell yeah! Oh, it's bad.
It's
bad. Sausage Fest is bad. It's funny as hell, but it's bad. It's just
they purposely went
like bad, like naughty or bad, terrible.
No,
both
naughty. Like no, like they made X-rated like crazy shit just so that like they went all the way here so that they finally like say okay yes to here, because if we went this far then it would have been too tame. So they showed the censors the most outrageous shit. But I couldn't believe what I was watching. I'm like, they actually made this. Like,
did you ever watch Team America?
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
it's same kind of thing.
Yes,
it's that same kind of like I was watching it and I hadn't watched it, so I'm watching it with my dad for the first time. We're watching it on TV, and because we had bonded when I was younger, my dad introduced me to Thunderbirds. So we saw this and we're laughing through the whole thing, and it's funny, and then it gets to the puppet sex scene. And it just goes weird because you're like, okay, you're laughing. You're like, okay, puppet sex. This is funny. And then she shits on him and like it's the golden shower thing. And you're just like, what the fuck? And then you remind yourself it's from the South Park guys. And it all makes complete and utter sense.
Whereas Seth Rogen is not, I don't necessarily think of him as like South Park level, but you find out very early on that this is not for the children. But it was funny. So I'm sure it'll be good.
So I did remember one other thing that I forgot to talk about here behind me. Daisy Jones and the Six. Oh, fucking awesome. Based on a book, the author, like you read a little into it and find out the author got the inspiration from the book, watching a performance of Fleetwood Mac and watching Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham sing to each other. Okay, this is the story, and the book is done. The book, they changed some things from the book, which you expect. You got the boys who start a band. Simultaneously, you've got Daisy Jones, who is very much Stevie Nicks in a lot of ways, but a little even extra fucking out there, kind of doing her thing and trying to, find stardom as a singer songwriter. But she's way into drugs, bad family background, is very, broken person kind of stuff. They finally get put together by their manager. You have to watch it. It's really good. I don't want to give anything away because there's not a mystery, but there's a lot of stuff that unfolds over the season. It's so awesome. And they managed to get, because the musical director, the musical supervisors on the movie. So it's obviously it's all about a band. The two people sing. Riley Keough, who plays Elvis's granddaughter, plays Daisy Jones. I'm forgetting the guy's name right now. I'll have it for you in a moment. But he was in he's most notably Finnick from the
Hunger Games?
Hunger Games. Yeah. He's Finnick. There's Camilla Monroe's in it. Every person in this movie it's phenomenal performance that gets put through. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. They the author wrote all the songs, like all the lyrics to the songs, and then the music supervisors were, I'm trying to look this up because it's one of the dudes from Mumford and Sons. It's Jackson Brown. Where is sound department? Music department. God, there's just so many people involved in this. I'm trying to they managed to capture that late 70s Laurel Canyon, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, almost yacht rock, the time right before punk comes in, sound absolutely perfectly. There are, like, I downloaded the soundtrack and it's been on constant play in our cars. It's so, like, there are a couple songs on the soundtrack you would think were Fleetwood Mac songs. Like, they're put together so well. It's a great series. Andrew, you'll love it. Just with the behind the scenes music industry stuff that goes on. One, B, the characters, you will be Myers-Briggsing the shit out of people.
Do that and
all throughout this whole thing, bro.
Yeah.
It is a great, like I said, the music in and of itself just alone is phenomenal. I recommend everybody just download the soundtrack to boot anyway. But yeah, watch Daisy Jones and the Six. It's on Amazon. Totally worth it. It's fun. It's relatively, there's a lot of language in it. You hate the fucking character of Daisy. You absolutely hate her, but you're supposed to. Like, my wife read the book and she said, you hate her in the book. Like, until the end, when things, I don't want to say come around, but they come around, like, you absolutely hate her though. But again, you're supposed to hate her. There's some really cool stuff though. The whole book is written as, oh yeah. So it's the story of this band building, and then all of a sudden they are at the peak of their fame with their first album debuted. They have sold out Soldier Field in 1977. It's their last performance. The band dissolves right there. And it's the story of getting to that point and what brings them there. And it's told in the book, it's told as someone interviewing the different members of the band, and then you just seeing all this stuff in flashback. The bulk of it's flashback. The interviews are very small, but that's how the book works. But the interviewer, like who the interviewer is, plays a very big role at the very end, and how it ties in. You'll figure it out, like who it is at one point. You just do. I figured it out, and I didn't read the book. You're like, oh shit, I know who the interviewer is. Like it suddenly makes sense, but it's so friggin' good. Totally worth watching. You can watch it, Jen. You can watch it. The oldest would love it.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it teen friendly?
Yeah, there's like I said, there's some language, there's some a little bit of sex, but nothing crazy at all. There is it's a very interesting, and there's Simone Jackson is Daisy's best friend. She becomes this disco star. She is a black lesbian in the late 70s, and she is in the book, and they tell her story of this and coming out and going through this and what she goes through, and just her musical journey is really, really good. She does a cover that's on the soundtrack of the Carpenters' Song for You. Well, I mean, the Carpenters made it famous, but it was what's his bucket song?
Yeah, I didn't figure out.
Elton John.
Donnie, A Song for You. Isn't that Hathaway? Donny Hathaway?
Is that Donny Hathaway?
Song for You.
I don't. It has been done so many goddamn times that I don't even know who the original. Like, it's I will defer to you on that, and we'll go with it's Donny Hathaway. But yeah, she has an amazing track on there. But yeah, it's relatively kid friendly. Bless you. It's relatively kid friendly. There's a few things here and there. Like we watched some of it with Stella because she liked the music and she liked what was going on. But there is kind of even with all the like medical TV shows we watched, there's a really scary overdose towards the end of the show, or towards the end, it's a little rough, especially if you've bought into the characters, and she really buys into characters very quickly. So like that's visually a little there. I don't want to put it on par with Mia Wallace, if you will, but it's there, right? Like it's an OD, and but dude, it is the story of some broken fucking people. And it's really, really good. So yeah, watch Daisy Jones and the Six on Amazon. You won't regret it. And that's all I got. I really am done now. I don't think I got anything else. Except for Strange New Worlds.
Yeah. Jen, do you have anything else?
Nothing that I need to talk about majorly. The one show, the series Sydney and I have been watching is the Summer I Turned Pretty. It's kind of just like a teen. Have you seen it?
No, that's so you didn't see in the group chat. I said let's not talk about that tonight. Soph wants to be on to talk to you about it next week. So we're gonna have a guest star. Because she's watching it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I know what it's about. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe Sydney will talk about it too. But yeah. So we don't. Like I said, I don't need to get into it. But other than I feel like season 1 is really good, and then season 2 is a little bit letting me down. But I saw Elemental.
Oh, okay. How was that? So Stella has been dying to see that. And I
thought it was good. Like, not my favorite. I mean, to me, it was no,
Toy Story.
Exactly. No Coco. No, what's the other one that people compare it to?
Moana.
They're comparing it to Moana?
No, Zootopia. Or,
no, the other one with all the Bing Bong and
In and Out.
Yeah, it's not Inside Out.
Inside Out.
It's no Inside Out. I mean, Inside Out is much better, but
and the second one of that is in production right now.
The animation is really cool. So I mean, I definitely think it's worth a watch. I don't think you need to see it in the theater.
What's the story behind it? That's the one thing they really don't give away much of the story.
I didn't really know anything. It's basically about the elements, like there's fire and water and whatnot, and then kind of about like the way they interact and where they have to live. And fire's kind of like discriminated against because they're dangerous. And so I mean, I guess it kind of covers like in a roundabout way racism, but it's also about like a teenager and her interaction with the element of water, who she meets a boy. And so, the parents don't want her to be with him. And so, I mean, it is covering like racism in that way. But I thought it was really cute. It was done well, I thought. Worth a watch when it comes out streaming. And then the other thing I saw was Sound of Freedom. So
Yes, Sound of Freedom. I made a joke about that. I want to hear about your conservative propaganda movie. Um, I know a little bit about this. I'm probably not going to see it just because it's not the kind of movie I see in the theater in general. It's getting incredibly good ratings, but there's all this like drama behind it. How like somebody's saying it's supposed to be canceled, like people are trying to cancel the movie and things like that, and I'm like, it's kind of like is it like a Tim Ballard like autobiography like.
Yeah, it's like about, I mean, I wish it wasn't getting the drama because it's a really good film. Like I see lots of movies and I can't really always say like, damn, I thought that was really good. And I thought it was really good. I was really invested in the story. My mind wasn't wandering. My throat was in my chest a lot. Like it was so heartfelt. But the thing that I liked about it is that it wasn't too graphic because it would have been too much. It's a very serious topic about child trafficking. And so they're not showing you anything. They're just insinuating things. So that's good. That's the way it needed to be. But I don't know. It was just done really well. The very beginning, I was apprehensive. I thought it was cheesy. I thought the acting, I was like, damn, this is going to be rough. But then whatever, it just seemed to kind of fall into place. And I just thought it was really good. I do think it's worth a watch. I would like to see what you guys take all the politics out of it, take all that crap out of it. I just think it was good. I thought it was well done.
No, when it comes out on streaming, I will probably wind up watching it. I think this movie has taken a hit in a lot of ways in certain areas, and honestly, and now this is just how jaded I am. I think that some of the hype and the drama may have been built up internally.
Yeah, they may be trying to drive
because this movie did very well theater-wise. Actually, if you look in like the South and the Midwest, like the more the flyover states, if you will, or what we consider like the kind of religious states in the country, because it is the production company that made it. Like it is the other stuff they make do tend to be more like the religious or spiritual kind of movie.
Yeah, what were we saying? He was in the Jesus.
Well, no, not just Passion of the Christ.
No, but not Caviezel, though. But the studio did that Jesus Christ show that is on its third or fourth season now. It's very highly rated on IMDb. I think it's definitely content that's directed at a very specific group of people. I don't think there's a lot of Muslims or Jews sitting down to watch the Jesus Christ show, but it's definitely targeted towards your very Christian audience, right? But in that regard, it seems like they did a great job making it. Just based on what I've read, it's kind of hard to say that you've made a very accurate representation of somebody that lived 2,000 years ago, and all we have is books written by dudes that were totally in a totally hetero way in love with the guy, right? Like if you got the books of Matthew, Mark, and all that, and they're all people that were his disciples. So if you're making a book about him, it's the people that were like his hype machine, right? It'd be like if the Ben Shapiro's of the world wrote a book about Donald Trump, and that was all we had in 2,000 years was something written by the people that followed said individual.
Even more to the point, if you had like 8 different talking heads, if you had like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and all these guys writing stories about Donald Trump, and then he dies, and 100 years after his death, even longer than that after his death, all of a sudden all these people get together and decide which of these stories are the accurate stories that they're going to put together, and then that's going to be the tale that's told about him in 2,000 years. Right. I don't want to get too, because this is the whole point of this is not to be political, but Kevin and I, we've talked about religion enough. We have very my entire view on religion in my adult age was completely and utterly formed by Kevin Smith's Dogma. Like I was raised Catholic, Like it really was. If you go, but you can watch it on YouTube right now because there's whole streaming and release rights are held up with the Weinstein boys.
Anywhere else, you're right.
Yeah, it's on Dogma, or it's on YouTube. It's really really good. It's fucking Kevin Smith, but there's so many things that he has to say about organized religion. Like the movie when Dogma came out, it was fucking, it was protested by people who hadn't seen it and everything else. You go and watch it, it's very much a Kevin Smith movie. I mean, there's a giant shit monster that attacks people in a strip club while they're going on. But the things he says about religion and the ideas that he talks about, and they resonated with me. Because there was so much, like the biggest overall thing, because Chris Rock plays the 13th apostle, Rufus. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, and Alanis Morissette is God. So
is God. Yeah, George Carlin is.
Did you just say Alanis Morissette?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. She is God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are the main characters. They're two fallen angels down on Earth. It is definitely worth it to watch. If you've never seen Dogma,
no, I have not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Damon's the angel of death, basically.
Kill people.
Yeah, it's so fucking good. But it's like, because he comes across and one of the things that and Alan Rickman's in it, is one of his. Salma Hayek's in this movie. There's so many people in this movie.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Rufus says to Bethany in the end is, you shouldn't believe in things. He says this early on. You shouldn't believe in things because beliefs are too hard to change. It's better to have just a bunch of good ideas. And I really always like that sentiment, because you get, when people start to, when we look at certain things across the board, when you really really believe things to the point that someone else says something about it that it shakes you to your core, you kind of have to examine that a little bit, because it's anyway. Watch it.
No, I still want to say something really quick. All right, I think that goes back to, I think, what I call psychological boundaries, and it's a theory basically that I have. I think I brought it up before. So like, if you go to a small town, the radius of the boundary is very wide. So that's why if someone does something that is like within their radius, because the radius is the whole fucking town, it bothers them. If your psychological boundary is just you, or very contained, that's where you'll find people in big cities, because they're not really fucking with the next person. They don't give a fuck. It's like, all I care about is, are you fucking with me? Okay. If you're not fucking with me, you go do what the fuck you want. Okay. So to me, it's like people with weak boundaries who can't handle anything that is different from them. They're the ones that I actually have an issue with. I can have whatever beliefs I want, but the issue is when my beliefs are an issue for you. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So it's like that's the issue, I think. And I think so. If you're a Jesus freak and you want to go out and like tell other people that they're wrong and they're blah blah, it's because you don't. That has nothing to do with you. Just control yourself. Like that's my little rant. I just had to say that because I really think that weak boundaries are a huge defect, I think, in a lot of people. And if they had stronger ones, they'd be a lot healthier.
I don't disagree with that. And with what I said being said, I also though have a great admiration for people of faith, because like there's something to be said for someone who can believe something that hard and you have a signpost to live your life by, and I appreciate that. And most religious people I know are just normal ass people who like to have something to do Sunday mornings, so
yeah, I do not. I don't judge people for being super religious as long as they're good people. My daughter is huge into church. She goes every week, and she's and granted I am biased, but she's one of the best people I know. Like she's good, she's kind, all that stuff. I'm sure, when she comes to visit, she looks at me and she's like, "Oh fuck, he's gonna burn in hell." But like, but she never, ever makes me feel bad for. Now, granted, she lived with me her whole life, and she's like, "There's no changing this broken human being, but
you're a lost cause.
Yeah, it's like, fuck it, he's screwed. But like, I don't have a problem with it. If your belief system is what gets you through, and that's strong for you, as long as you don't shit on other people, as long as you're good to other people, accept that they're different. If you can sit down and talk to them about the differences, I think that's even more impressive. And you can walk away and say, cool, maybe we don't believe the same thing or whatever, but that was very educational. My father-in-law is like that. He is not over religious, but he will listen to anybody and sit down and talk to anybody about what they believe, and eat it up. Like, he watches all the History Channel shows and all that stuff. He loves that stuff. And nice. It's and I think that's a good way to be. If you don't have to agree with everybody, but if you can listen and be objective, I think that's a big deal.
Amen.
So, speaking then of, because we've talked about everything else, speaking of people with objective views of things and positive views, Mr. Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek. Star Trek was a universe where everybody was cool and everybody was happy and everybody got along, except for Klingons. Klingons were dicks. But we had women on the bridge for the first time. So
first interracial kiss on television.
Yes, on television.
And they kept messing up the take to force them to use it.
Yes. Okay. So before you get into this is one that I keep meaning to put into group chat and I forget. On Prime Video, Andrew and Kevin. Jen, I'm going to assume you haven't watched this, or that it may not hold any interest to you unless you're in Star Trek. That's
because you're a girl.
No, just because she's never talked about Star Trek, or that in the conversation.
Yes, you guys have had to school me on Star Trek. I am no expert.
You should start with Strange New Worlds, actually.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's actually no.
I can start with
Strange New Worlds is not a bad place. Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you've never watched Star Trek, I think Star Trek Strange New Worlds is far more accessible than anything, because Next Generation has a very 90s feel to it if you can grow up with that.
Yeah.
Any of the shows after that aren't really great. Whatever. Picard
is a show or a movie.
Strange New Worlds is a series on Paramount Plus, shorter, but I think it's the perfect place to start if you've never watched Star Trek before, because it's everything. It is everything that Star Trek was in the 60s without being made in the 60s.
Okay, hold on before we start this discussion. On Amazon Prime, it's called The Center Seat, 55 Years of Star Trek. It's a documentary series. There are, what is this? I'm looking at it right now. There's 11 episodes. It goes through all the movies, all the series. I am actually, after watching this, I'm going to start watching Deep Space Nine.
Thank you.
Deep Sleep Nine?
No, Kevin, dude, bro. After I watch this, no, Andrew, I'm telling you, you would dig this. You would dig this documentary.
I'm gonna watch your show, but I actually watched. I'm too short. Deep Space Nine. Okay, first of all, Star Trek has like 50 episodes a season. I'm exaggerating, but like 25.
It's 24. Yeah, because it was
goddamn close to it, bro.
Well, it was in the.
No, it was all syndication. It was all
that's the word I was looking for. It was syndicated.
Yeah, that's the thing. This documentary is the entire story of how I Love Lucy and Desilu Studios got Star Trek on that. Like whole.
We owe her. We owe her.
God, yes.
Yep. But the thing is, like, Deep Sleep.
DS9.
I almost said Deep Sleep 9.
Deep Sleep
9. Like I watched like just like the kind of like the essential episodes, but of all the essential episodes I've watched of Voyager and TNG and Deep Space Nine, like I watched the most of DS9. Like I went off the script of the prescription and just kept watching other episodes because I was that much into it.
Well, okay, that's also because they talk about this on Center Seat. Deep Space Nine is the first series that has an entire story arc that stretches through,
because it wasn't syndicated
Roddenberry
anymore.
Didn't want.
Yeah,
no, it was syndicated, and that was one of the big problems. Deep Space Nine was syndicated. It was also on. You go into this. It was on CW or UPN when they did it, and it was supposed to be a centerpiece. But that's actually what Voyager became when they were launching that. Deep Space Nine was syndicated. One of the biggest fears with Deep Space Nine, and this is why like Next Generation didn't have like the follow through story arc. They wanted to be able to put it on in any order.
Any channel,
Deep Space
anytime.
Nine, you can't do that.
No,
with Deep Space Nine.
Right.
It like there are standalone episodes and you can pick things up, but there is a completely overarching storyline. It's the first Star Wars.
Well, because it's very much what's his name, Battlestar Galactica, Ron.
I'm after watching this center seat, I'm very interested in watching Deep Space Nine because I had only watched a couple episodes of it, and I was with you, Kevin. I was like Deep Sleep Nine. I was like, this is fucking boring. Fuck the Ferengi. What's this shit with the krill? The whole thing. I'm like, this is just some bullshit. Like this isn't Star Trek. This is a hotel in space.
It is the space hotel, and he's not a captain. He's just a fucking. He's just a concierge. Anyways, have you ever watched? Have you ever watched The Captains? Where Shatner reviews everybody, and that guy's out of his fucking mind. Like Cisco, he's just sitting at the piano. He's like, "It's just jazz, baby. It's all jazz." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you saying, dude?" You're like, the guy is so gone.
Hey,
he's great. He's actually great on Deep Space Nine. I give him that. He's a great actor.
Going back to Barbie for a second, though, I got totally passionate. Right, so basically, like, there's a scene where, like, I guess, like they're mocking men because if a woman hasn't seen something, we jump on it. Oh my God, you haven't seen The Godfather? Oh my God, you haven't seen it, blah, 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 So it's like, you guys are talking about fucking Strange New Worlds. And I'm thinking, I still think 2009 is the best entry point because it's like the least, like, what's the word? So I'm doing it, whatever. But it's only a movie. It's just one movie, 2009. It's like, it's an adventure film. It was written by.
But see, that's exactly why I don't think it's the best entry point.
No, but to start it before we go into the more geeky, sciencey shit. Because I feel like that's.
I don't feel that way because I think if you watch those movies, if you watch the Chris Pine Star Trek movies, those are action movies. Those are, but they're all action movies. They are different than Star Trek. Star Trek as a whole is the
original intent by Gene Roddenberry was the exploration.
And that's why Strange New Worlds, for me, if you have never, ever, ever watched Star Trek, you get a more mellow story. You get more relatable characters because Kirk is so Kirky. He cheats the Kobayashi Maru. He does all this stuff, and Kirk is my captain. Like, I love Kirk, but
Anson Mount's Pike, that's true.
Not just that, he's just so brazen, right? Like, he is unapologetically Kirk, and I think Anson Mount's character, his Christopher Pike, is easier to digest as a captain of a ship, right? Because even in the 2009 movie, Kirk just gets a ship by being very Kirky, because Pike gets messed up, and Kirk
and Spock loses his shit, which
Kirk doesn't deserve the ship. Like, it's all that, like, he gets it, and it's a great action movie. Like, it really is a great action movie, but I think Strange New Worlds is like I said, a better entry point.
I'm actually going to agree with Kevin on this one. I like what you're saying, Andrew. I really do, because I actually like all three of those movies.
Oh, so do I. Yeah, for sure.
I think they are great, but I think if you want to understand Star Trek and what it was, Strange New Worlds is a better entry point because it feels like old Star Trek to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think I put it in group chat. I believe, and I haven't looked it up yet still because I'm fucking lazy, but Valley of the Lotus Eaters, or the Lotus Eaters, the like one of the episodes that I think it's the newest episode of Strange New Worlds, or in the last couple.
Yeah, it was
actually an original Star Trek episode of the original 1960s.
Well, the episode
they've changed it.
And
no, the episode they just did was
it's not the one they just did. It was like episode 4 of the season. But they also covered the same topic in a different way in Lower Decks. And so that makes it interesting. And I think this next week's episode is the Lower Decks crossover, where Jack Quaid will actually be a normal human being instead of an animated character on Strange New Worlds. But one of the things I think too that makes Strange New World such a great entry point is you have your really good dramatic episodes like that episode 4 when they're dealing with things, and then you have some episodes that are just fun and a little silly and they don't necessarily tie into anything, like in this season when Spock loses, he becomes human. An
That's
alien
the newest one.
wipes out. No, there's another new one.
Is there one after that?
No, maybe that is the newest one actually.
Yeah, I love that.
But
I just watched that this week. That is so fucking funny and so good.
yeah, and it's great because it still says something, like it's the way everybody treats him because he should be one way or the other, but he's these two different, he's half human, half Vulcan, and yeah.
This is a good jumping off point because it does have some of the original characters, like like obviously Spock and things like that, but you don't need to know who they are because it lets you know, it explains it to you. There's so much about the J.J. Abrams ones that if you don't know Star Trek lore and history, there's so much of it that you just don't give a shit about because it's all inside baseball. The Kobayashi Maru stuff, the entire second goddamn movie, Noonien Singh, Khan,
again,
all of it. It's so
all
very
I'm saying
much.
is I'm not expecting anyone who's not a Star Trek fan to all of a sudden want to watch multiple episodes. I'm thinking if you just want to get like a taste of what it is, like as a pop culture artifact, me personally, I'm just thinking 2009 does the job, and then if you want to like dig deeper, then go into it. But I just think that because I don't think I love Anson Mount, but okay, I gotta say that one officer with the fucked up haircut all the way to the right, I don't get that fucking haircut. Like that has nothing to do with Star Trek. Like I just feel like it's I don't know. I just yeah. Anyway,
I get what you're saying with that. I'm
a marketer, okay? So I want.
That's just a costuming choice, though.
I want to give you a teaspoon, and if you like the taste of the teaspoon, then go ahead and get more of the jar. That's all.
Okay, so if you really want to get into Star Trek, Jen, watch the movie Galaxy Quest.
Oh, okay.
It's the best Star Trek movie that was ever made.
That is true.
Well, I don't know if I really want to get into Star Trek, but I do want to give it a try for you guys.
That's like saying the Orville. Like I feel like Galaxy Quest and
how much of the Orville have you watched?
I watched enough, like 6 episodes.
No, you didn't then.
Yeah, no,
If you think the Orville is a parody, you have not watched it.
It is not at all.
It is a completely separate show in the vein of Star Trek. The Orville is the shit. I will go to the mattresses with anyone on this. Seth MacFarlane, that show gets a ton of shit because of Seth MacFarlane.
Sure everyone who liked Ted Lasso liked the Orville. So there's
dude, it gets dark later on. Yeah.
Yes,
it really does. It goes a completely different way than you think it was. The beginning of it was definitely run by Fox and what they wanted to do with it. And when they finally stepped out of Seth MacFarlane's way, it became a very different show.
Okay, I buy that.
They made it. They were trying, and
the ship looked like an iron. Like it.
No.
Yeah, it did.
To be fair, the ship was silly looking, but
thank you.
Okay, but hold on. I'll give you but look at it like this. The ship may be a little silly looking, but when you look at ships there's only so much you could do. And you take and you look at Star Trek is this the two nacelles and the saucers and just everything they put through it. Those are very iconic looks. All the Star Wars have very iconic looks. So to find something and Battlestar Galactica, the Vipers from the original 70s series, these all have these very iconic looks. So you're gonna miss on some of them. I don't mind the Orville's, the looks of the ships that much. It's not the best, but the fun of the Orville comes from it's a lot Star Trek. There is a little bit of Seth MacFarlane's sensibility and sense of humor, which was way heavier in the Fox era.
Yeah, which is what I've seen.
But so here's one of the things. There's an ongoing story episode about an alien race on there that they're like trans aliens is the only way I can describe it. They're male. So they're both male, right? But one of them,
No,
the
I
male
remember that shows up in the first season. Yeah.
In the second season, though, it becomes even more and deeper because the kid grows up. There's so much to it, dude. I'm telling you, give the Orville another try.
Aren't the Trill just basically trans too? Like,
no, because the Trill are they can be anything they want. They're just symbiotes. They can take anybody they want. They will identify with a certain race. That's why it goes from what's her bucket when she was written off into
Jadzia to whatever.
Yeah. That's why they do it. There's a preference there. But as far as in talking, the center seat on Amazon, they're completely asexual. They just have a preference that they build with the memories of where they are.
All right.
Yeah, well, I would give the Orville another shot.
Yeah, you got to get deeper. You got to get past what Fox was forcing and get to what Seth MacFarlane wanted to do, because he's a huge Star Trek fan. He did not want to make a comedic parody of Star Trek. He is huge. That's why Patrick Stewart worked on American Dad for so long. He's had all of the Next Generation characters, in his stuff. He's a huge fan.
The Orville and Discovery were on at the same time, and I was Team Discovery. And I remember a lot of people who hated Disco were saying the Orville is the real Star Trek, not Discovery. I do remember that, and I think that also kind of colored my my impression of the Orville.
In that regard, though, the sensibilities were wrong for Discovery. Discovery was an action-oriented TV show that was very much went against the things that Roddenberry believed. Like, it was not Roddenberry's Star Trek. No. It sort of started there, but it started to get darker and darker and weirder, and it was more like the 2009 movie than it was like A Strange New Worlds or something like that, where Roddenberry had a vision for the universe, and it wasn't everybody battles everybody all the time. And I think that's why Strange New Worlds works, because Strange New Worlds is about people getting along. There wasn't supposed to be
conflict.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't money.
The whole point is the utopia.
Yeah,
like they've built the utopia.
I already know what it is. Wrath of Khan, my favorite one. Wrath of Khan was legitimately them saying, Roddenberry, you go sit over there, because you made 2001 boring ass TMP, almost killed the franchise. So fuck you. You go over there. We're gonna get Bob Hart Bennett in, make a fucking a Khan movie based on Space Seed, and that movie pretty much is the reason why we have Star Trek today. I'm a Khan guy, so I do like the darker shit. Again, episodic, weird, shit. I respect it, but I also want some grit. So I did like Discovery. So it's cool.
I don't have a problem. Again, I don't have a problem with Discovery, but when you're talking about Gene Roddenberry's vision of things,
right? Orville is closer to Gene.
Exactly. But
I'm saying I think the franchise is bigger than the creator. I'm saying there's Gene, and then there's Star Trek, and I think there are two different things.
Bruh, you got to watch The Center Seat.
I will.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Roddenberry stuff out there. Having been to the cons and stuff, and seeing the people that worked with him. Roddenberry's hands
anti-Picard. Again, I don't want to lionize people. Like, people are flawed. Roddenberry did not want Patrick Stewart as a captain. So he wasn't a perfect dude. Okay, so
he wasn't.
No. I'm not lionizing him at all. That's what I'm saying. This documentary taught me things about Star Trek that I had no idea about, especially the early series and all the series, and how they were writing it one way and they kind of had to push Gene off because Gene was screwing with, he was a complete megalomaniac towards the end there, and the dude anyway, it's a great documentary series. Watch the Orville. Strange New Worlds, it's fucking awesome. It's the first Star Trek property, and granted, I haven't watched Picard yet. I want
Picard's brilliant, but it requires you to understand
Next Generation.
Yeah.
which I get. So good. Strange New Worlds, and that's my thing though. Is it's Strange New Worlds? I think if you've never watched anything Star Trek ever, you watch Strange New Worlds and you get what Star Trek is supposed to be.
Okay.
And forget Gene Roddenberry and the original like intent. I'm just saying what we all know is Star Trek. Even Next Generation was still the exploration and you know what's out there. And so it's more in that vein to me. And that said, again, I love the JJ movies. I think they're fucking awesome. They honestly, I'll say it. I liked Khan. The JJ movies are my favorite Star Trek movies aside from Journey Home.
Voyage Home.
And I loved Khan. Voyage Home, excuse me. You know, like I absolutely loved Khan, but the JJ movies were great. I love how Spock tied in. I love the whole timeline thing that they start doing. Like it's fun. Awesome shit. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched a new Star Trek property that from the jump I was hooked and I was like, I'm completely on board. Strange New Worlds, from the first episode, I was like, dude, I'm fucking in.
Yeah,
I love this cast.
I watched season 1 and I liked season 1 enough. I like season 2 a lot more.
And that's encouraging because I dropped off of season 1. So if season 2 is better than season 1, I might come back.
Have you? How did you? So where did you end season 1?
Here's the thing. It's also because I have low bandwidth. I don't watch a lot of shit at the same time. So there's just better shit on. I think Stranger Things season 4 was on at the same time.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I'm Stranger Things all the way. Like I'm dropping.
See, I'm getting back to, so it's the time of the year we both love and hate because summer is coming to an end and it's back to school time for the kids. But for me, it means I have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off by myself again with no one at home. So I get to watch.
Don't worry. In the coming months, you're only going to have reality television to watch. So enjoy that.
Yes.
I know. Oh, yeah. The Golden Bachelor. Fuck me.
Yeah. What?
This guy with his old balls. Like, I give a fuck about this. What is this for? Like, this is the
their
first time
date
in my life.
They're getting their senior discount cards out, you know.
Yeah, are the women going to be?
That's the question.
So what they talked about on Good Morning America, the only blurb I've got is there will be some varying age range.
Yeah.
Of course there is. Of course it's going to be like a 50-year-old man and like 24-year-old girls. And
if this 71-year-old dude ends up with anyone younger than like 55, 60, I'm gonna shit my pants.
I am not going to watch or care.
Right?
Oh no, I will
end up with anybody. I don't care.
I might need to watch one episode.
No,
I will say that is the one reality TV show that I can honestly say I have never watched a single episode of.
I've never seen
the Bachelor, the Bachelorette.
I used to watch it religiously, but I fell off.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where reality television goes in the next year because it's all we have.
Yes.
Fucking bring back Fear Factor, baby, again. Fuck it. I'll eat a pig dick. Let's do it.
I won't watch that either. I just don't care. Like reality television's really hard for me. I'll watch the cooking shows because I find food interesting. I see things that I want to make. I see things that I want to eat. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
But Top Chef was at its best when they got rid of the interpersonal drama. Like the first 2 seasons of that,
yes,
was,
I know.
were actually where it was not good. As soon as they got rid of that, show was infinitely better.
So do you know why all that was? The original producers of Top Chef were Mary Ellis Bunham and those guys who were doing Real World, and at that point, the Real World was in full swing of let's just get everybody fucking drunk and see what sort of dumb shit happens. Because the first maybe 3 seasons of the Real World were fucking awesome. It was reality TV.
Honestly, the last reality I watched.
Yes.
Now the problem is now what we call reality TV is actually unscripted TV.
Yeah.
Because all these like Jenna, like we talked about, like our love of Vanderpump and like the Housewives stuff that they Frankenbite all that together so hard. Like you're getting a 2-shot over somebody's shoulder where someone's talking about something, and then they cut back to a wider view so you can't really tell who's talking, and they've now taken a statement from another point in the conversation and cut it in. The producers set things up. It's like, hey, you should you're here at the party, you should go confront Judea about why she said Simon's a no good husband and he's cheating on her. I should do that. And they go and do it, and there's fucking drama, and people like me love watching crazy bitches yell at each other. It's just fucking what it is. But it's completely different than reality. I would actually love to get back to some actual reality TV, where it's like, you know what? Fuck it, let's just follow a dude around with a camera. Like, give me Ed TV.
I think the problem with that is that there's too much liability these days for that to work. You have to be able to protect yourself and the people around you from so much shit that they just can't do it.
The Pete Show, the one episode series where he gets canceled at the first half hour, and we only have the one episode to air, folks. So we'll just go with that.
There's a Barbie Dream House challenge. It was fun. I mean, whatever. It's silly, but I watched it with my little one, and actually, they're the new episode. I think they're just dropping one episode at a time. But I mean, if you like design shows, it was a fun watch. Oh, but wait, I do need to say this. I saw No Hard Feelings. Did you guys ever talk about that movie?
No. I want to see that. Yeah. Tell us about it.
It was good. Like, in the beginning, I was cringing, like clutching my pearls. Like, is this appropriate? Like
for anyone?
But I'll just do a quick what it's about. It's basically about a young man who just graduated, that's why I was clutching my pearls, because I thought this was like a kid in high school. And then the parents,
they kind of bill it like that at first.
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, this is like not okay. But anyway, the parents, he's a very shy, just a shy kid. And he hasn't experienced much in the way of girls, or, he just doesn't have a good personality. And so the parents, one of the parents is Matthew Broderick, and they want to find somebody to help their son come out of their shell. And so that girl is Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah. And so they find her basically, and they like hire her because she's down on her luck and is desperate to get a car, is what she needs out of the deal. And so basically they have her work with him and pretend to be the friend and all that, and hopefully sleep with him and get him out of his shells before he goes off to college. That way he has a little more experience and whatnot. But like I said, the very beginning, it was just so like, I'm thinking, God, this is a high school kid, and like, it's just not right. But then after I realized, I'm like, okay, he's graduated. Like, I get the whole sentiment of what they're trying to do for their son, but then it just gets silly and funny, and they do end up forming like, a friendship and whatnot. So it gets like more endearing, like more than you think. You think it's going to be knocked down funny the whole time. It's actually not. It's a little more, there's definitely more like what the fuck moments and some madness kind of in the beginning like that. But it gets endearing too. So it was good. Full frontal for Jennifer Lawrence, though. That was a little like, holy shit. Whoa.
Worth the price of admission right there.
Exactly. So if you're a Jennifer Lawrence fan, you're definitely going to want to check that out.
I want to see that. I want to see Joyride is on my
list.
Yes,
that's on my list.
Pretty fucking funny.
That just looks fucking hilarious. Yeah. And I really want to see Strays.
Yes.
Yes.
Theater.
I won't see
Haunted Mansion.
But yeah.
You want to see Haunted Mansion?
I'm going to see Haunted Mansion because Stella wants to see it. It's getting panned already.
Yeah,
right?
I
getting what?
Yeah,
it's getting panned. It's the people. It's getting like torn apart.
Which I
already see that.
Challengers is one that's intrigued me.
That looks with Woody Harrelson.
Is that the racing movie?
No, it's the that looks good. The Gran Torino. Well,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
Gran
this is the
Torino.
Zendaya one. Apparently, like she's playing, like she's the player. I guess it's like a tennis movie, and there's just these two guys, and she's like, yeah, these are my little white boys or whatever. Like she's basically being some kind of like player, you know, with these two guys pitting them against each other, and it just seems kind of like the fact that she said that, and she's all just like, you know, like with sunglasses.
Have you watched all the trailers for that though? I think
No,
there's
I
two trailers.
only saw it right. It was right before Barbie. I saw it today.
Okay, so it looks like though, to me, that story actually stretches a long period of time.
Yeah.
Because because all of a sudden they're grown up and she comes back in the scene. Because one of the things they're talking about that's the really like ooh thing is that she basically like, and they intimate to it, and I bet they don't. I haven't heard of it. Is that there's a she orchestrates a three-way with the two of them.
But it's in the trailer, like they're both kissing her on the neck, like on either side of her neck. So
yeah, but until it actually happens in the movie, did it actually happen? You know what I'm saying? Trailers are very, very good.
Yeah, that's
at showing a shit
sequence or whatever. But either way, it looks like it's like a Cruel Intentions type movie where it's just about like how people can be dicks to each other and maybe manipulative. And again, there's everything I've seen Zendaya in has been good, so I think that looks good. So yeah, that's one that definitely got my attention.
Oh, here only because you just sort of brought it up. Cruel Intentions versus Dangerous Liaisons. Which one's better?
Never saw Dangerous Liaisons. But I'll always remember the Very Sweet Symphony. Like that song will always remind me of like the end of Cruel Intentions.
Fair enough.
What about you?
No, I like Cruel Intentions better. I mean, Dangerous Liaisons is a brilliantly beautiful period piece, and Rene Russo is fucking amazing in it, and John Malkovich is fucking amazing in it, and I think it's Glenn Close is amazing in it. But I think that and I think they even made it into a fucking series now too. But I think that the Ryan Phillippe Reese Witherspoon is a really good, like, it's a good translation of that movie into an update, which sometimes is hard to do, and they do it really well without it becoming like super cheesy and dumb.
Speaking of updates, I caused some controversy on my wall when I said The Legend of Billie Jean, I think, is ripe for an update, because that movie came out in like the mid 80s. And to me, it's like this movie was about someone who was wronged and then was able to kind of start a movement, kind of like a social media movement, but it wasn't social media. It was like radio and everything else to basically rail against this fucking like, you know, this asshole basically. And it was like invincible. It was a girl power movie, you know, again, way before its time, you know, and she even cut her hair.
Okay, so this is the only time I think I might ever say this. I would support a remake of that movie only if they don't change the race of the cast.
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be a poor white girl.
Yes.
I think it has to be a poor white girl railing against the police. I think it also becomes more impactful because if you remake Billie Jean, in Hollywood right now, I really feel like the thing will be to let's color swap it. We could very easily make this about a young African American girl whose brother gets shot by the police, and so what's fair is fair. They want the police, like it can be turned into this. I loved that movie. Yeardley Smith is fucking amazing in it. Yeah. Young Christian Slater's amazing in it. And Helen, it's and like you just said, Scandal's Invincible is just fucking a beautiful piece off that soundtrack. I would love to see a remake of that movie. But it is one where
execution is everything.
Yes.
Hence going back to Gem. You know, execution is everything.
I think I've talked to people about this and they disagree with me, but I say no, it would actually be even easier to do it in today's media savvy world with podcasts is a redoing or a remake of Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
That movie, it's not as titillating, if you will. It wouldn't be. Back when we were younger, when it was out, listening to the stuff Happy Harry Hardon was saying on the air while you're watching that movie as like a teenage kid is getting the intended effect that it's getting because of what he's talking about. I think you could do the same thing today, but it'd be very easy to do with like a podcast, because like the radio thing is what made it cool in that movie. I loved that movie. I like the soundtrack to it is so like late 80s, early 90s. We have gone off the rails there. I don't even. Were we done talking about Star Trek?
Yes, I think we are, and I think we've talked about everything on the docket. So I think we're good. I think we can let all the poor people trying to watch us figure out what the hell we're talking about. We can let them go.
Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Let me go to Hulu and look and see what's on my continue watching, because I always cut out in the middle.
This is the deepest we've been in a while. I think some history was made tonight. Did you record a show last week, Kev, or no?
I did not.
Yeah. We took a break.
Yeah.
And that is okay. You know what? And you better leave this part in, Kevin. Fucking kudos to you for all the work you've done in putting this shit together and keeping it going, you know, on those weeks when like people can't get together and you're doing the solo thing. You're turning this into such a fun little, I don't want to sound dismissive when I say fun little. It's a fun YouTube show that you've turned it into, dude, and you really deserve a lot of fucking credit for seeing through the evolution of you know, from where the show began when it was funny to this weird kind of 2.0 thing that you and Andrew cooked up, and like what it's become there. No reaction from Andrew. Jesus.
No, because I'm teeing up something else. So you finish what you were going to do.
I just want to say fucking kudos and just fucking way to go, buddy. Like,
and
thanks.
Yeah. And speaking of, because we're totally going to fillet Kevin on this show now. There was this thing called TV Pilot Winners. Contest.creativescreenwriting.com. So I had the pleasure of reading a screenplay called S.A.R.A or Sarah. And it's a TV show that I could totally imagine on Fox, frankly, because it has like, it's a space show. It's a pilot. There's a mystery. I actually don't remember the plot very well, but I do remember.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kevin. Is this the one you sent me to that we've talked about?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. Okay, so I've read it too. Yeah, it's awesome. It's just been so long since you gave it to me. It's really, really good. I was so impressed with Kevin's writing ability.
Yeah. No, I had visualizations, and by the end of the, is it 30 minute or an hour? Is it 30 minutes?
It's an hour.
An hour. Yeah. By the end of the hour, like I absolutely cared about the characters. I did, you know, and characters I cared about like died, you know? So it was like, holy shit, like this is really gripping, you know, and I would want to see this done. So anyway, I bring all of that up to say that Kevin's one of the finalists. So we actually have a finalist for a TV pilot, like, you know, probably went out to thousands of people, and he was named as one of the finalists of all these scripts. So, you know, if you're watching this show and Kevin blows up, you can say you were one of the day oneers. Like you were there, you know, in the beginning. You have cred, you know, you can be like APNC baby, Kevin Clausen. Yeah, what's up? You know, so props to you for you know, fuck it. We're going all the way. Being a dad, holding down a full-time job, editing these podcasts, basically hosting the podcast when no one else can do it. And then finding time to write and submit and workshop your shit. So good on you, Pete, for starting the praise. But yeah, we just want to show you love, and you better not edit this out of the show.
You never know.
And also good on you for getting to the fact that Jen doesn't like to be called Jenny, because that's all we call her now in the goddamn group chat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me, I guess, with some people.
It's how you are in the yearbook.
It's fine. I guess I'll let it slide with you guys.
Yeah,
not that I have a choice.
Yeah, there's no option. We'll do it. So, with all that, if you're still watching, God bless you, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Go fuck yourself. No, just everybody in general. Go fuck yourself.
Go eat another popsicle.
Oh, so I'm not proud of this, but I'm not gonna use it.
It's like you're. I know. I was laughing because when you left, you burst through that thing, and then when you came back,
should make you do the whole thing like that.
Yo, check it out.
It looks like
what you want? Oh, fuck.
What was that kids show with the giant Yo Gabba Gabba? That's what he looked like. He looked like he was on Yo Gabba Gabba.
After my time.
Yes,
DJ
very
Lance.
much so.